The number one mistake or lesson that I have refused to learn over my years that has bit me in the ass the hardest over and over and over again is a very simple idea. It is when people show you who they are, believe them. When people show you who they are, believe them. My disposition is to give people a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth chance, and to give them grace that maybe this time will be different, or maybe that situation, they didn't mean to do this. Like, circumstances happen all the time. But over and over and over again, as it comes, whether it's with partners or with employees or with vendors or with customers, when people show you who they are, if they show you they're untrustworthy for any reason, if they show you that they're a dick for any reason, believe that that is who they are, that it's not an isolated incident, that that is in fact their default setting. And this has burned me so badly. I'll give you a couple examples. Number one is we have a vendor in one of my businesses that we've been working with for over a year now. We spend a lot of money with them. And there was an instance 6 or 7 months ago where I had this doubt that they were actually doing the work that we had agreed upon. And I didn't follow it all the way through. We got a glimpse into like the fact that I think I was right. We went and followed up with it. But it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that I confirmed, without a doubt, they weren't doing the work that they had been prescripted to do. And I remember we had a conversation with them months back, like when I first had that inkling, and I just kind of let them know. And they're like, yep, they explained it away. A lot of times when people like do something to show their true characters, they always have a good explanation. And I believed them. And now, fast forward, it's just months and months of not getting the work out of them that we should have been getting from the very beginning. Same with an employee. I had to let go of a key member of my team a couple days ago. It was a very hard conversation because I had allowed him to continually show me who he was without holding him accountable to that person. I kept giving him grace. I kept looking the other way. I kept not wanting to have the hard conversation. And the truth is that all the growth you could ever want in your life and in your business is on the other side of a hard conversation. Whether that's a hard conversation with a team member that's not performing, with a partner that's not holding up their end of the bargain, with your loved ones who aren't showing up in the way that you want them to, or honestly, the hardest conversation of all is the conversation you have with yourself. As you look in the mirror and you acknowledge, I'm not doing what needs to be done right now. I'm not having those conversations. I'm avoiding them. Why am I not showing up in the way that I expect everybody else to show up? Because I do believe you get what you put out into the universe, and what you receive is largely a reflection back at you of yourself. And so whenever I find myself in these situations of like somebody breaching my trust, I ask, like, what have I done to allow this? Because it didn't happen in isolation. It takes two to tango. And for whatever reason, I played a part in this. And it's only by looking at that and asking ourselves with self-awareness and really trying to get to the source of how can I improve in this situation in the future so I don't keep making the same mistakes. It's only through that lens that you're actually going to improve. But for whatever reason, this is the lesson that's just, it's bitten me so hard so many times over the years that when people show you who they are, believe them, especially in business, because you have to move so fast and you do have to trust people. And I think you should default from a place of I start with trust, but I take trust back very, very quickly. And as I get older and more mature in this space, that's happening. The time between when trust is breached and when I remove it is shortening. But I'm sharing this with you guys because it's still very hard, because your instinct, your desire is to give people that benefit of the doubt, give them a second, a third, a fourth chance. And over and over, I've never not had them ultimately reconfirm the thing that I previously had feared. And so whether you make that decision to part ways or to change the relationship, to have a conversation the first time it happens and actually address it in a meaningful way to ensure it doesn't happen again, or you just turn a blind eye to it and then 7, 8, 9 months goes by and then you look back and you go, oh, I knew this all along. I always had this gut feeling. And you know this, like you have these gut feelings about people, about situations that you kind of ignore. And a good rule of thumb that I've used when it comes to hiring, but I have not used as well when it comes to firing, and it's one that I'm going to reapply very much more consistently moving forward, is if there's any doubt, there's no doubt. So if there's any doubt during the hiring process, it's almost always, it's not going to work out. Like if you have to sell yourself into hiring somebody, they're not the right person. When it comes to hiring and like falling in love and like getting into a relationship, it needs to be like a hells yeah. it's harder once you're in the relationship and we start to like make these concessions or like, yeah, it's not as great as it could be, but maybe we can turn it around because you've invested so much time and energy into it. But generally speaking, if there's any doubt, there's no doubt. That doesn't mean you go and fire them right away. Like, you always want to look at the situation and say, what have I not given them in order for them to succeed? So we want to start with what are the processes that are failing before we go to the people. So once we've addressed that the processes and the systems in place are sufficient and it is actually a people problem, if there's any doubt about that person, I think you're just generally better cutting that tie quicker than it is sitting around waiting. So my general rule is that we hire very slow, we fire very fast. And that has served me well when we've adhered to it. But as you grow really rapidly and you become more dependent on bringing people into the system really quickly, you start to get lax with it. And especially as people are hiring underneath of you and you're not necessarily having access to the new people coming into the team, you start to get lax on the standards. And the good rule of thumb is that A players hire A players, B players hire C players, and C players, they shouldn't hire anybody because the people they bring in are garbage, right? And so you need to stay rigid in like the team and the culture, the community that you're building around you. And that starts by really auditing and having those hard conversations, both with yourself and those people. So learn from my mistakes. When people show you who they are, trust them the first time. And that's going to do it for me, guys. We'll see you in the next episode.